Okay, 3.5. New type of story problem here. You're not going to be making the box up here on the side. You're going to be making a box, just not that one. Okay, we're going to do something easy first. There's two parts to this assignment. Easy part first. Everybody, whether you have a packet or you're at home, you need to write three formulas. It's called SDT, speed, distance, time. They're all related, okay? Now everybody needs to write this on the top of their packet. Speed, that's like the miles per hour. The per is the speed. That's taking the distance, dividing it by the time. Now distance, to calculate distance, you take the speed and multiply it by the time. Now time, you take your distance, divide it by your speed. Okay, now let's talk about this. A car travels 250 miles for a time of 5 hours. Find its speed. I'm not going to write the problem down, okay? If you have a packet, it's right there, but if you don't, just look at the document. Speed is taking the distance divided by the time. So the distance is 250 miles. And the time is 5 hours. So 250 divided by 5 is 50. So the answer is 50 miles per hour. You can put mph if you want. Okay, next problem. A car travels at a speed of 60 miles per hour for a time of 4 hours. Find the distance traveled. Now you're finding the distance, the total distance. Taking its speed, 60 miles per hour, and multiplying it by the time, 4 hours. 60 times 4 is 240, okay? Now you're wondering, what's the label on that? Well, the label of hours cancel out and we have miles. It's 240 miles, okay? Okay, next problem. A car travels a distance of 600 miles at an average speed of 60 miles per hour. Find the time it travels. So time. Now go up to the top, times distance divided by speed, okay? Alright, so our distance is 600 miles. And our speed is 60 miles per hour, okay? 600 divided by 60 is 10. Now the label, the miles cancel and you just are left with the 10 hours. Okay, I'm going to go through another round. A car travels at a speed of 55 miles per hour at a time of 2 hours. Find the distance traveled. So we're finding the distance. Distance is taking the speed multiplied by time. So the speed is 55 mph multiplied by the time, 2 hours. Okay. Okay, that's 110, and then the hours cancel, and it's 110 miles. That's how you label distance. All right. Next one, a car travels a distance of 400 miles at an average speed of 80 miles per hour. Find the time it traveled. So time, remember on the other part we just put that time as the distance divided by the speed. So the distance is 400 miles divided by the speed 80 miles per hour, and that's 5. The miles cancel and I'm left with just 5 hours. Okay. Then finally, a car travels a distance of 300 miles over a time of 5 hours. Find the speed. So on the other side of the paper, speed is distance, so 300 miles divided by the time, 5 hours. So that's 60, and none of the labels cancel. That's why it's called miles per hour. Okay, pause the video and do 1 through 3, then we're going to get on to the hard stuff, okay? Okay, hopefully that went pretty smooth. Now, why did I have you do that? Well, you're going to need to apply those same formulas in this next part. So, I'm using these most of the time that's the one I'm going to apply. Sometimes I'll have to apply a different one. Okay, example. 2 cars travel for the same amount of time. 1 car travels at an average speed of 40. Actually, I have the thing here. 2 cars travel for the same amount of time. 1 car travels at an average speed of 40 miles per hour. The other car travels at an average speed of 60 miles per hour. The faster car ends the day 225 miles ahead of the other car. Calculate the distance each car traveled. So distance is measured in miles. But there's 2 answers because there's 2 cars. We need to find blank and blank. Now there are no units highlighted, and the reason why they're not, because this is not that type of a problem. This is called a speed SDT problem, speed distance time, okay? Here's how you want to maybe set this as a suggestion. I think it works. You're going to make a table. It's going to be 2 rows, 3 columns. Here's how you label the columns. You're going to put fast and slow. Then you're going to put speed, and then above it you're going to put MPH, miles per hour. Then you're going to put distance, okay? That's just your miles. And then here you're going to put time. Time is measured in hours in this problem, okay? Now, speed of the fast and slow car, that's given to you, okay? The fast one's going 60, the slow one's going 40. Now, we're done with the 60 and the 40. Now, distance is just the miles traveled. Now, that's the answer to the problem, so I don't think we know it, but there's something we can put here. It tells us it tells us 225 miles ahead. The faster car ends the day 225 miles ahead of the other car. Now that does not mean either car just went 225 miles and stopped, and that's one of the answers, okay? No, it just means we don't know how the miles they went, but we know that one went 225 miles more than the other. It's similar to saying Joe and Sally each have money in their pocket. We don't know how much they have, but Joe has $2 more than Sally. Well, that could be a variety of things. It could be 5 and 7. It could be 9 and 11. It could be 15 and 17. You know, we don't know. But one thing we can put is we can put a plus operation with the faster car with the 225. Now what that then allows me to do is call this, we don't know it, so we call it x plus 225, and then we can call this the distance for the slow car just x, okay? They're both unknown, but we know that one's 225 miles more than that one. X is going to be our answers, okay? Now let's talk about the time. 2 things we know about the time. Actually, the only thing we know about the time in this problem is that they travel for the same amount of time. So put a little wave and put equals, okay? Now we have to fill in that box with something, okay? And what you're going to fill in, this is time, right? Time equals distance divided by speed, okay? So I want you outside the box to put d over s, d over s. Now go in the box, because time is equal to that. Now go in the box, okay? Now we're not going to be able to calculate the time, but we're at least going to be able to put something, okay? Because it equals, that's an equation. That equation is going to come down here. Now d over s, what do I have for the distance on this fast car? Well, I have the expression x plus 225. Put that in the numerator. And then speed. What do I have for the speed of the fast car? 60. So on this side I have the ratio x plus 225 over 60. Now here, d over s. What do you have for the distance on this car? You have x. What do you have for the speed of this car? You have 40. So that's x over 40. Now it's a proportion and we may solve it, okay? But you can't just cross multiply and divide. Okay, because you have 2 x's. Not only do you have 2 x's, one of the x's actually has an operation with it with the plus 225. So you're going to use your a times your b equals the C times the D. So A is x plus 225. B is 40. C is x. D is 60. Now I see a plus sign there, so I have to use the distributive property. You can put a 1 in front of the x if you want. So 40 is a distributive number. I will be timesing that by two things, the 1x and the 225. So 40 times 1x is 40x. And 40 times 225 is 9,000. So line up your equals, and on this side you have 40x plus 9,000. Now over here, you don't have a plus or a minus, so you don't distribute. You just take 1x times 60, and that would be 60x. Don't forget the x has to go there. Okay, you got x's on opposite sides. You can't add across the equals, so you pick the smaller one and get rid of it. There'll still be a 9,000 there. So to go from positive 40 back to 0, we would go backwards. So minus 40x and then minus 40x from the 60x. Line up your equals. So you have 9,000 and then 20x. Now the only operation's times. 20 times what's 9,000? Well, heck, if we know, we're just going to divide. $450, great, I found it. Now what do you do with it? Remember, you're finding the distance, so go up to where these x's are and replace the x with 450. And now I can find my distance. So the slow car just went 450 miles. The fast car, we take 450 plus 225, and that's 675. Problem solved. Kind of complicated, but we're going to go over a couple more. I run at a speed of 20 feet per second and run 40 feet further in the same amount of time than Chad, who runs 17 feet per second. Find the distance each of us traveled. So feet. So instead of miles and hours, you got feet and seconds, but it's still going to be the same way. So fast and slow. So speed, distance, time. Speed wouldn't be miles per hour, it'd be feet per second, so FPS. Distance would just be feet, and the time would be the seconds. Okay, feet per second, we have those rates. We have 20 and 17. So 20 is the fast, 17 is the slow. The distance we don't know, but we do know about the distance is that the fast one went 40 feet further than the slow one. So that means I don't just put a 40, it's got to be a plus 40. But what plus 40, I don't know, so x. And then this one can just be x. Okay, the time, that's your seconds. We do not know anything about that other than the fact that they are equal. Okay, same amount of time means they're equal, and that's where my equation's coming from. But again, time is equal to distance over speed. Okay, so distance over speed, distance. Don't put it in the box, put it outside. Now D, distance is x plus 40. Speed is 20. Now I know you don't know the distance, but you can write something for it, okay? So this side is x plus 40 over 20. Okay, distance here, x. Speed here, 17. So that's x over 17. Now, I can't just multiply and divide, so I have to apply the ABCD rule, okay? So if cross multiply and divide won't work to solve a proportion, then ABCD will. Okay. So A times B is equal to C times D. So A is x plus 40. There's a plus there, remember that. B is 17. C is x. You want to slap a 1, that's fine. Then 20. Now you don't distribute here because there's no plus sign. 20 times 1x is 20x. Now you got a plus sign, so you need to distribute that 17. So 17 times 1x, 17 times 40. It's going to be 17x, and that's 680. So over here we have 17x plus 680. Okay, we have two different x's. They're across the equals, not on the same side, so we have to pick that one of the two. Probably have to be the 17, because I would still have 680 then, okay? We actually want a number left. So I get that to 0 by subtracting. Line up the equals, you have 3x, and then 680. So 3 times x. Well, 3 times what? 680. Heck if you know, so just divide it. Round that off to 227, please. Now we got the answer. What do we do with it? Well, we're finding the feet, okay? So 227, 227. So the slow is 227. The fast, 227 plus 40 is 267. So that's the feet, okay? Okay, last example, then I'm actually going to turn you loose on the two problems, okay? And then after you're done with the two problems, if you have time, I'll do the last two examples because those make you, okay? Two cars travel for the same amount of time. One car travels at a speed of 70 miles per hour. The other car travels at an average speed of 55 miles per hour. The fast car travels 60 miles further than the slow car. Find the distance traveled by each car. Now I'm back to miles and hours. So, DST table. You got the fast and the slow. That's how I differentiate. Okay, so you got the speed. Now you're back to miles and hours, so that'd be mph instead of FPS stuff. Okay, distance. That's just the miles, the overall miles. Then the time, that's your hours. Now the MPHs we know, both of them, 70 and 55. 70's fast, 55 slow. Now distance is miles. Now the fast car travels, don't just put 60, okay? You read the sentence with the 60. The fast car travels 60 miles further than the slow car. Well, that means the fast car just went plus 60 compared to that. But we still don't know what it was, and we don't know what he was, but he would get the plus 60, he would not. For example, it's like I said, one guy has $2 more than the other. Well, that could be 8 and 6, okay? It could be 12 and 10, okay? Just the one with less money is X, the other one's the X plus 2. Okay, now the time. You know they're equal, and that's where the equation comes in at. And time is also can be written as distance divided by speed. But we can't actually divide because we don't know the distance, but we can just write an expression. So distance x plus 60, speed 70. Distance x, speed 55. So on one side we have x plus 60 over 70, and on the other side we have x over 55. And again, we cannot just cross multiply and divide, so you have to use your A, B, C, D. Cross product rules of proportion multiplication. So A times B is equal to C times D. Always is in a proportion, okay? Let me illustrate why that works. Don't write this down, but just look at like 5 over 10 and 3 out of 6. Those are both half. That's 30. That's 60. That's 30. That's 30. That's 30. There always works that way. So A is x plus 60. There's a plus there, and then B is 55. So I have to distribute the 55. And over here you got x, and D is 70. There's no plus there. I don't distribute. I just take 1x times 70, 70x. Over here you got that plus, so 55 times 1x times 60. So that's going to give us 55x. 55 times 60 is, I think it's 330. Yep, or 3,300. That was way off. Okay, you need to get rid of one of the x's because they're on opposite sides. One of them's got to be taken to 0. It would want to be that one because if I take that one to 0, there's nothing over there, and then people get really confused. But if I take that one out, I still got 3,300 on that side. So to take it to 0, we'd minus 55x. Now line it up, you got 15x and 3,300. Wall. That's times. So the only operation you have is times. So you're just going to divide by 15. So 3,300 divided by 15 is 220. Now what do you do at the 220? Well, since we're finding the miles, the distance, take the x out. Since we've solved for it, we now know it's 220. So the slow is 220. The fast is 220 plus 60, that's 280. Okay, pause the video and do the 2 assignment problems, and if you have time, I'll do the last 2 examples. Okay, hopefully that went all right. Now the game's going to change a little bit on these last 2. 2 cars travel at the same speed this time. The car that travels for 5 hours travels 50 miles further than the car that travels for 4 hours. Find how far each car traveled. Okay. So you're finding the same thing, but the information you're provided with is a little different. Okay. So speed, mph, time or distance. That's just the overall miles, and then time is the hours. Where are my miles per hour? We don't have any, man. Okay, so I'm going to leave those empty. I'm going to come back and fill them in. Miles, again, the only thing in miles is the fast one's 50 miles further than the slow one. Okay, so plus 50. So that didn't change. So instead of giving me the speeds, they have given us the time. So the fast car went 5 hours. Okay. And then 4 hours. Now it's speed we don't know. Okay, how is speed expressed? Speeds are the same now. So there really wouldn't be a fast and slow here if they're the same speed. You could just go car 1 and car 2. Okay. So 1, 2. Because they're the same speed. The speeds are equal, and that's where my equation will come in. But this one still has a plus 50 because if you drove for more, if they're the same speed, the guy driving for more time has the more miles. Distance divided by time now. Okay, so the distance we have x plus 50, and the time we have is 5, x and then 4. So it's x plus 50 over 5, and then x over 4. And then it's just the same song and dance, okay? A times B, so A is x plus 50, and B is 4. C is x, you put a 1 if you want, and B is 5. Okay, with that plus, you have to distribute your 4. So 4 and 4 times 1x times 50. 4x and 200. So I got 4x plus 200. On this side, that's just going to be 5x. You do not distribute without a plus sign. Okay, I don't want anybody doing 5 times 1 and 5 times x. You do that. If it said 1 plus x, I would, but it doesn't. X is on opposite sides, so that guy, let's get him out of there. So it's going to be 1x and 200. Now 1 times what's 200? It's 200. Okay. So 200, 200. So 250 and 200. Okay, let's do another one. This table is really a godsend for a lot of these problems. You want to meet your friend at a park 4 miles away from your house. You're going to bike to the park at an average rate of 10 miles per hour. Your friend lives 1.2 miles away from the park and walks at an average rate of 3 miles per hour. How many minutes ahead of time should you and your friend start out? How many minutes ahead of you should your friend start out so that you meet at the park at the same time? Okay. And I'm going to be doing the same thing here. Instead of fast, slow, just put, yeah, go fast, slow, because we have a faster one than a slower one. Okay, so speed, mph, distance, that's the miles, the time, that's the hours, okay. Speed, well, I got miles per hour, 10 and 3, okay. Distance, now we actually know the distance on both of these is a little bit different because your friend has to go 4 miles away. We know he has to go 4 miles. It wouldn't be any of this x plus 4 stuff, okay? That's from your house, so you're the one, the fast one's the one who's walking 4 miles. Then your friend, he's going at the 3 miles per hour, but he only has to go 1.2 miles, okay? Now, I'm not even going to need variables here, dude, okay? So hours, the time, okay? That's what this is all about, minutes, okay? Or hours, I guess, okay? You can go minutes if you want. Let's get to hours and then just put it, and then just convert them to minutes later, okay? Time, okay? Time, still distance divided by speed, and this time I can actually calculate it. I don't need to just put it into expression. So distance is 4, that's 10. 1.2, 3, distance, speed. Now divide those, and that's how many hours it's going to take. We can always multiply it by 60 to convert it to minutes. 4 divided by 10 is 0.4. 1.2 divided by 3 is 0. They're already equal, Holmes, okay? So minutes, you put already going to be there at the same time. Already the same. Now, if I would have got, let's say for instance, listen to me, let's say if I would have divided here and got 0.8 for me, and let's say the friend I would have got 0.6, this is a what if. Then I would subtract 0. I would find the difference, 0.2, multiply it by 60, and that would be how many minutes, okay? That's a what if, okay? Didn't happen there. So 12 minutes, you'd have to start ahead because you're beating him by 12 minutes. You'd have to start 12 minutes. But they're already equal.